Kettlebell complexes are getting a lot of attention lately because they're an extremely time-efficient way to train, and they're notorious for building lean, muscular physiques. Which is why in today's video, I'm going to dive into every detail of kettlebell complexes so you know what sets a complex apart from, say, a superset, and what variables to consider when writing your own kettlebell complex, so you can build functional strength while maximizing time efficiency. Oh, and if you stick around to the end of this video, I'll even share a beginner-friendly alternative to kettlebell complexes you can utilize to refine your kettlebell technique. With that said, let's dive in. First things first, in order to write a kettlebell complex, it's important to define it. And with a quick Google search, you'll probably find something along the lines of 2 or more exercises performed back-to-back with a single piece of equipment, in which you perform all reps of one exercise before moving on to the next without putting down said piece of equipment between exercises. And while that is a long-winded but pretty solid definition of kettlebell complexes, it leaves out something massively important. What types of exercises should we choose to maximize our strength and physique gains from a kettlebell complex? And in order to answer that, we need to take a couple of things into consideration. Number 1, what is the goal of your workout? For example, do you want to emphasize a particular muscle group with this complex, or are you looking for something more full body in nature? And the second thing to consider, how can you get each exercise in your complex to smoothly transition from one exercise to the next without setting the kettlebell down? Because it's these smooth transitions that truly make for a high quality kettlebell complex. For example, a single arm front squat straight into a single arm overhead press, beautiful. A goblet squat straight into a single arm push press, awkward as a boner in gym class. Make sense? Cool. But what about an example of a complex that emphasizes a single muscle group, say your shoulders? Well, we could do something like single arm overhead presses straight into a single arm overhead carry, which is an absolute burner if you've never tried it. Regardless of full body or muscle group focused complex though, have you noticed a pattern in the exercise selection so far? We haven't done a single isolation exercise like a bicep curl. Instead, we stuck with compound exercises that involve multiple joints and large muscle groups. Reason being? Well, because that is what's going to allow us to work the largest amount of muscle mass in the least time, thus maximizing strength gains while shedding body fat so we can make the most out of our kettlebell complexes. But even if we know what exercises to choose, we still have one major question left unanswered before you can write your own killer kettlebell complex. How many reps should you do of each exercise? Well, it depends on the weight you choose. You see, there's a really important relationship between volume and intensity that we need to understand. And that relationship is an inverse relationship, meaning the heavier the weight you plan on working with, the lower reps per exercise, whereas the lighter the weight you plan on working with, the higher the reps per exercise. Personally, I never do any less than 3 reps per exercise and no more than 10, mostly because I want the benefit of strength, hypertrophy, and conditioning. Less than 3, and I miss out on the conditioning. More than 10, and it begins feeling more like an endurance workout than a strength workout. But between 3 and 10 reps per exercise has proven consistently effective for me and those I've worked with over the past decade of coaching. But complexes can be super taxing. In some of the upper rep ranges, you're spending a lot of time under tension performing all reps of one exercise before moving on to the next, which can make form suffer if not careful. However, at the beginning of this video, I promised to share an alternative to the kettlebell complex that is beginner friendly. And this, my friend, is where kettlebell chains come in. And the only difference between a chain and a complex is that rather than performing all reps of one exercise before moving on to the next, you perform just 1 rep of an exercise immediately followed by 1 rep of the next exercise. So if you wanted to perform a complex of 3 single arm kettlebell cleans followed by, say, 3 single arm kettlebell front squats followed by 3 single arm overhead presses for a total of 3 reps per exercise, you could turn this into a chain by performing 1 single arm kettlebell clean followed by 1 single arm front squat followed by 1 single arm overhead press, and do 1 rep of each 3 times through before setting the kettlebell down. And since you aren't spending a ton of time under tension at any one movement, you're more likely to maintain your form. But while kettlebell complexes and chains are great for building functional strength and lean muscle mass, unfortunately complexes alone aren't enough to shed body fat. So if you truly want to reach your peak physique with the kettlebell while leveraging the other 3 components to contribute to fat loss, check out this video here, and I'll see you on the next one.